So the man holds this big rally at Madison Square Garden. And the warm-up speakers were saying we're trotting out and peddling the most racist, sexist, bigoted stereotypes.
Barack Obama articulated exactly what countless Americans have privately thought for a long time. He directly confronted the intolerance, the offensive rhetoric, and the polarizing strategies that have become characteristic of the MAGA faction. And he spoke entirely without restraint.
One guy called Puerto Rico, quote, an island of garbage. Now, these are fellow citizens he's talking about. Here in Philadelphia, they are your neighbors. They are your friends. They are your co-workers. Their kids go to school with your kids. These are Americans. They're people. And that is the reason why this election should not be close. It should be clear. Here's a good rule. If somebody does not respect you, if somebody does not see you as fellow citizens with equal claims to opportunity, to the pursuit of happiness, to the American dream, you should not vote for them. You should not expect them to make your life better. They will not help you make they will not help you pay the bills. They're not gonna work hard to make sure your kid gets a good education. They're not gonna help you with a down payment on a house. I mean, we have to reject the kind of politics of division and hatred that we saw represented. America's ready to turn the page.
Everybody's got an opinion. And that means getting stuff done involves reconciling the demands of a couple of 100 million people. Democracy can be frustrating. It can be slow. It can be inefficient. And yet, more than anything, I hope this center will serve as an affirmation of just how special, how precious our democracy truly is, and remind us what we can achieve when we embrace our shared responsibilities as citizens. And since we're a few weeks away from America's 250th birthday, it is worth remembering just how radical the whole idea of self-government really was back in 1776. To that point, human history was a tale of conquest and caste and rigid hierarchies. A world where the strong dominated the weak, where power and wealth and status flowed through lineage, and the many were ruled by the few. But out of the fire and steel of a revolution, a different story took flight on this continent. A declaration that we are all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that in the newly independent United States, there will be no kings or lords, no serfs or subjects, but only citizens, each of us free to pursue our own version of happiness and able to determine our collective fate to an elected representative government. It had not been done. And because it hadn't been done before, the success of this experiment was never a given.
If you are a new viewer here, please ensure you subscribe, as we will continue analyzing the political moments that lawmakers and media spin machines prefer you avoid examining too closely. What Barack Obama accomplished during his address was not simply critiquing Donald Trump. He confronted the core political playbook that has powered his opponent's coalition for years, and he achieved this by highlighting a concept that ought to be apparent yet remains oddly debated today: respect. The direct catalyst for his remarks was an incident at the recent Madison Square Garden event, where a guest speaker described Puerto Rico as a floating landfill. Just ponder that statement for a moment. Puerto Ricans are rightful American citizens. They enlist in the armed forces, operate businesses, and labor in medical centers, educational institutions, building sites, corporate offices, and manufacturing plants, forming essential parts of neighborhoods nationwide. Yet such rhetoric reached the podium at a massive campaign event. That specific rhetoric is what prompted the former leader to declare, "These aren't outsiders, they're residents, colleagues, classmates, and fellow Americans." His core reasoning was notably simple. If an elected official or their inner circle fails to value you as an equal, why should you trust them to advocate for your needs in office? Why would you assume they will improve your standard of living, and why should you rely on them to safeguard your family's future? That inquiry slices right through typical election catchphrases and partisan marketing, since governance is not solely about the pledges candidates make. It is equally about their chosen allies, the conduct they permit, and the overall environment they cultivate within their movement. The broader message conveyed was that contemporary politics heavily relies on polarization. Rather than discussing ways to reduce expenses, upgrade education, enhance medical services, or generate avenues for blue-collar households, lawmakers consistently prioritize scapegoating specific demographics, whether immigrants, minorities, the press, urban centers, university scholars, ideological rivals, or whichever group serves as an easy target right then. While those types of tactics consistently produce sensational news stories and trending videos, they never genuinely resolve problems. They manufacture outrage, they manufacture bitterness, and they manufacture online engagement, yet they fail to assist citizens with housing costs, help households buy food, or support anyone saving for real estate or funding higher education. That is the exact distinction he aimed to illustrate. One method of leadership feeds on continuous fury, while the alternative focuses purely on administration. Whether or not you align with his perspective on every single topic is irrelevant, as the overarching thesis he presented concerns the nature of democracy. This explains why he transitioned from discussing his predecessor to examining America's foundational principles. He reminded the audience that a free society is chaotic, irritating, and frequently sluggish. And while reaching consensus is seldom thrilling, democracy demands that individuals possessing diverse heritages, convictions, and goals live together and navigate disputes without treating each other as adversaries. That concept appears incredibly basic, but historically it remains radical. Throughout the vast majority of civilization, everyday individuals possessed very little influence over their leadership, as authority rested solely with monarchs, dictators, nobles, and elites. The proposition that everyday residents might rule themselves was unprecedented. The philosophy suggesting that authority must originate from the public rather than bloodlines was groundbreaking. Although the nation has never flawlessly embodied these standards, the populace has dedicated centuries attempting to approach them, broadening civil liberties, increasing civic involvement, multiplying economic chances, and extending the guarantees of nationhood to more demographics. This is exactly why he positioned the situation as far more significant than one voting cycle. Because when ideological factions urge voters to view their peers as inferior, insufficiently patriotic, or undeserving, they erode the bedrock democracy requires. A functioning republic does not demand total consensus, as citizens will continuously debate taxation, medical infrastructure, international relations, border security, and numerous other subjects, which is perfectly standard. What becomes genuinely hazardous is the moment individuals cease recognizing one another as valid participants within a shared homeland. That is exactly when public discourse transitions from competition into something significantly darker. This encapsulates the true essence of his caution. He was not merely criticizing the former president, but sounding the alarm regarding a civic environment that utilizes polarization as an administrative doctrine. Whether this admonition actually connects with the electorate remains a completely separate issue, yet the reasons this address garnered such massive attention are clear. Beneath all the partisan bickering lies a much more profound inquiry regarding the exact type of society Americans desire. Do we desire officials who unite the populace despite the inherent challenges? Or do we prefer politicians who acquire influence by persuading the public that their own neighbors are the problem? That is the fundamental decision he presented to the electorate, and irrespective of your personal ideological leanings, this specific debate will undoubtedly mold the national trajectory for many years ahead. Please share your thoughts with me in the discussion section. Do you concur with his critique regarding the previous administration and the tactics of polarization, or do you suspect he is ignoring the real crises that genuinely worry the electorate? If you found value in this video, please remember to like, subscribe, and activate notifications. I appreciate you tuning in, and I will see you next time.